Okay, thank you so much, Engineer Keno, and thank you so much, everybody. I've had many presentations from Kisumu and from Nairobi, and I'm happy that Kisumu and Nairobi are also focusing on NMT. I've always believed in the non-motorized traffic, but I was converted. I never used to. Before I joined government, I remember very well, I was driving around Pandia roundabout, and I saw there was a World Bank project for NMT, and I saw a footpath being built, and I remember saying to myself, are these guys crazy? Why are they doing a footpath instead of widening the road? I remember so well saying that. A few years down the months, I got appointed as the County Minister for Transport and Infrastructure, and I stumbled upon a World Bank document on the justification of the footpath. And when I read this document, it started making sense to me. So I knew that I was one in a million people who thought that way. I knew that the minority of the people were thinking the way majority of the people were thinking the way I was thinking. So I knew that I had to convert people in my department to think the way I was thinking. So the first person that I sat with and tried to convert him was Engineer Keno, my chief officer. And then he even admitted that when he was in the municipal council, he was responsible for cutting some pavements and making them into parkings and made very narrow ones.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. But he admitted that he got converted. Number two, I knew that I needed to convert my entire team because I couldn't do it myself. I called the enforcers. I called Ibrahim with his entire team, and I put them in a big room like this, and we had over an hour or 2 hours of sessions, many sessions, to try and convince them and to explain to them why it is important to get everybody off the footpath. Because at that time there were many obstructions of the footpath, and everybody put their advertising boards on the footpath, and they were obstructing the pedestrians. They bought into the idea, and I knew that the brainwash worked. So Ibrahim, you're converted, right?
Yes.
And I think that is what maybe I need, the advice I need to give Nairobi and also to Kisumu, is that the enforcers need to believe in it. They don't just need to be told or ordered, but they need to believe in it. There's a guy called Enrique Penelosa. He used to be the mayor of Bogota. Go to TED Talk and listen to him, and let your guys watch him. This guy actually is my role model, and he's the one who actually made me believe in what I believe. And everything that I do, I look up to this guy. He was also, even the Mwendakasi, the one in Tanzania, the BRT, was as a result of the inspiration that he did for the people of Bogota in Colombia when he was mayor. He's a very interesting guy. You need to watch him. After that, we started doing the pavements, but then I realized that there were still people, whenever they don't get parking space, they were still parking on the footpaths. So I had to come and think out of the box, and I say to myself that how does the human psychology work? The human psychology works if the footpath is different. And then we came up with the idea of having the footpath in a red color to show the pedestrians that they are more important than the drivers. And that's why we introduced the red carpet, and we made them walk on the red carpet. And up to today, if you walk around in Mombasa and anyone parks on the red carpet, even the askari manning the shop will come and warn you and say, hapa utapigwa clamp, toa gari hapa. So we managed to educate even the entire population to start believing that the red carpet is a very sacred place to be in. We went round with the inspectorate department, and we cut every single advertising or directional board that there is in Mombasa. If I show you the photographs of how Mombasa looked before and how they look now, you will never ever believe it. Right now you can't appreciate it because you don't know. We introduced a Google map. We introduced we installed a camera on our vehicle a few years ago, and we went around Mombasa and created a street view of our city. I think it's one of the only cities in Africa that has a street view. And we uploaded to Google. But we did it before we transformed our city. So right now, if you go to Google and to press Mbetayari or somewhere Digo Road, and then you drive around, you can move with your finger and drive around, you will see the old city how it was. And you can zoom into the pavements and the footpaths, and you'll find that those potholes in the footpaths were there for more than 50 years. So we changed all that. And the only way to appreciate it is by going there and looking how the city was before. Obviously the numbers, all of you, Engineer Keno shared it with us. Even the 11% where you see the private transport, it's actually there's only 3% of the population own private cars. Why 11% is because we are assuming there are 3 or 4 people in a car. And also the 52% who actually walk from the place of work to the place of the houses without being in touch with any sort of motorized transport. So the 3% obviously use public transport, but eventually they get out and start walking. So this number even rises. The bicycles are 4% because there is no safe place to ride. I'm sure if we had a safer bicycle lane, this number would go up, would go higher. These guys cross every day from the southern parts of the mainland of Mombasa into the island every day to go about their work. But once they cross over, they have nowhere to walk. And you'll find them mixing with the roads and the cars. But look how many there are. Are you telling me if you give these guys a 2-meter footpath, it will do them any justice? And that's why we have created our minimum standard to be 5 meters. And we want to request Kura that when you do your footpath, make them 5 meters minimum. Go up to the wall. Thank you for that. But I want to commend them, and I want to commend Kura because we came a long way. When we as a county decided to go the footpath way, we were all alone. We found Kura and the Kenha and the rest still focusing on the roads. But Kura were the first people to pick it up, and actually when we spoke to them, they started doing footpaths, and they did a few, and we thank them so much for it, and we are grateful for it. And there's some areas whereby they look so beautiful that I feel, even though Kura have done it, I take credit for it, or we are the department, because we feel that we are one, and when we work as one team, surely we will achieve so much. So this is how our city looks. This is around Membetayari. You can see how many cars there are. In the footpaths, you see when you have 5-meter footpath, it's comfortable, but when you come to 2 meters, they come off the road. They start walking on the road. And that's why I don't believe in the 2 meter. I believe the minimum should be 5 meter. This guy went and put this for the place to look more beautiful, but created more damage. So I spoke to him, and he broke this place and gave me this space. But in actual fact, he should have even created more, more space. Now, the last 100 years, there were no vehicles. At least 100 and something, there were no vehicles in the cars. And cities have existed for thousands of years. We've had cities that have existed for thousands of years. But those cities never had car problems. Those cities were built for people. They were people-friendly cities. Only 100 years ago, machines took over people. And now we design our roads based on cars. And remember, those cars are only owned by 3% of the population. But the people in office are put there by that 97% of the people who don't own cars. But the decision makers are actually me and you and all of us here. We design roads for them. I can guarantee you everybody in this room has a car. I have a car, you have a car, you have a car. But who represents those people outside who don't have vehicles? In the 16th century, Oliver Cromwell gave a hard time to King Charles of England. At that time, the House of Lords were the ones controlling what the taxes and the land taxes and everything else. So because he gave them such a hard time, the monarchy created the House of Commons. So they said, all the commoners, the Wananchi, here's your house. Go and debate. Tell us what you want, and we will give you what you want as the House of Lords. The House of Commons is actually the parliament. In Kenya, it's called the parliament. It's called Congress in America. But today, is parliament really the House of Commons? No. You spend millions, first of all, to get and do a campaign to get into parliament. So that definitely you're not a commoner. Immediately you get to parliament, you're given a car grant of over 10 million shillings, and you drive a 4-wheel drive. You're given health insurance. Your kids, you immediately move them to private schools. Are you still the House of Commons? Really? So if you want to have a real House of Commons, then these 97% of the population are going to be represented. But as it is right now, we shall fight this war alone in this room. So we must speak loudly, and we must speak loud and clear, that this thing goes up to the powers that be in the highest office, that the House of Commons must remain the House of Commons. And those 97% of the people who have no one else to turn to must have a place to turn to. And that's why we designed roads for the 3% of the population. We spent in Kenya last time in the infrastructure budget 180 billion shillings. This year it's gone a bit down, but it's still 172 billion shillings. We spent 58 billion for the SGR, and now we are going to spend 18 billion for the second phase of the SGR. For us to build a BRT system, it will cost us only 1 billion shillings. Now the BRT system, which will cost a fraction of that amount of money, will do this to our cities. The people in private cars will get stuck in traffic, but the people of Kenya, the 97%, will move in minutes. They'll be in their houses and their homes. And once these guys realize that these guys are moving, these guys will leave their cars at home, and they will join these guys. And when these guys join these guys, Kenya will become a more patriotic country, and the love between these guys and these guys will improve. Crime will improve, and as you said, patriotism will improve. When you go to first world countries, everybody uses public transport and they all feel as one person. So you don't know who is a millionaire and who is poor when they share the same public space. And that is what we have failed in Kenya, is that we have created a society of them and us. So when these guys rob these guys don't care. But if these guys share the same public space, they will all love each other, and we can call ourselves the Kenya that we want to call ourselves. Here, they say another case. The BRT must never ever stop in any traffic jam. They must be given priority, because these are the people, not these guys. This is me and you who are selfishly sitting in rooms and designing roads for these guys, and taking all the taxes and building roads for these guys. Even the superhighway in Nairobi is costing 50 billion. 50 billion. If Mombasa is given 1 billion, we'll have a BRT. Kenya will save money, and the balance of the money can go to the health sector. And why is the health sector also not succeeding in Kenya? It's because the House of Commons is not the House of Commons. So I go back to explain to you how we managed to come to where we came. So this was a parking, and that's where Engineer Keno was at that time at the council, when, you know, this bank would come and write a letter to us and say we need parking, or these shops. So we cut this. We keep cutting. We kept cutting. So what we did now is we reclaimed back everything, and we started making the red carpet. We started making the red carpet and tried to make it as wide as possible. A lot of people don't know how much sweat and blood we went through to get this done. Look how many people walk on it. Because when you walk, you don't want to walk in a single file. You want to walk like this as friends and as family, and have a talk and a chat. And Mombasa is the best place for this to happen, even more than Nairobi, the rest, because Mombasa is flat. You know, at least Nairobi there is some hills, and you know, but Mombasa is flat. It's so easy. If we focus on this, we can set an example and a trend to the whole world. And I know that we have actually sent a message to the world. Am I right? We're not only being discussed in Kenya, we're being discussed everywhere, just because of our red carpet. But that's not enough. We want to have a BRT system so that we can be the first in everything. Even the happy hour that we are doing, we're the first. I mean, who is crossing people on the same bridge in one direction and it takes them 5 minutes from 1 hour? We cut 55 minutes in travel time. But I still know that we're not there. Those are all temporary measures. But to get to the full-time measure, we need government support to do the BRT. Kenha are doing a super highway here from the bridge up to Mtwapa. I, as the Minister of Roads and Transport, have refused to sign that document up to today. Even the financiers came to my office and said, this thing will need more finances, just do it. I said I will not be part and parcel of this because I'm leaving office soon, and if I leave office, I want to set a precedent. Whatever we leave behind, as you rightfully said, we're leaving for our children. And tomorrow we shall be judged by who was in office and what you left behind. So this is how they were, and this is how it is now. We have many before and afters, but you probably can see it when you go to the Google map. This is exactly how it was. All this was like this. All these signages on the road, we brought them all down. Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you, Isaac. These guys are part of the team that did all this. See, we cut all these things along. We wanted all this to be free. All these were an eyesore. So obviously, this is one of the plans that we have for a certain road where we'll have it like this, and we will have the buses in the middle, and we'll have the stations here. This is how our city looked 1,000 years ago, hundreds of years ago in the old town. But right now, if you look at it, we've infested it with all sorts of motor vehicles. But houses were so close to each other, children could come out and play. Right now, we don't even allow our children to come down because we are scared. So kids live inside a prison all their lives. And as Pedrosa said, human beings, we were born to walk. Just like fish are born to swim, and birds are born to fly, human beings are born to walk. You can put a fish in a fish tank, but it won't be happy. It won't die, it won't be happy. You can put a bird in a cage, it won't die, it will be happy. And you can put a human being inside a room, he won't die, but he will not be happy. For a human being to be happy, he needs this space to walk around. Even me, when I use public transport, I always ask myself, how come I'm happier today than when I'm in my car? That happened when my car broke down, but it's not by choice. But I was happier. So we have our biashara. We have a market that it's called the Biashara Street. It's in a very bad situation. So we have designed it. This is how it's going to look. This is just a drawing. We of course we're in partnership with ITDP to do it, and hopefully we'll have it looking like that. Now, the cycling story is another story for another day. I will come to that, but the physically challenged, they have to be included. They're part of our society. So what we've done is that in our crossings now, we're having all these to show them that, you know, the bubbles, when they get to the end, it shows that when they feel it on their feet, they know that they are at the edge of the road. So we have done it. We've done the first one across the Marikiti crossing quite recently. So we've taken some of them for training. We'll try and get them through the association to show them how to train. This is how they look at the bottom. So when you step on the dimples, you know that there is a road coming through. When you have the lines, you know that this is the direction that you need to, because they put their sticks there. And we hope to put it on all our footpaths all along the city, so that our city can belong to all of us. Children, the physically challenged, and we're using the ramp system, so even if you have a wheelchair, you know you can slide a wheel down, set a wheel down. These things before had been ignored, but we feel that we need to see, like this guy. This guy, if you go and talk to him, he's so happy. I've spoken to a few of them, and they can't believe how beautiful that the city is slowly turning. This is a crossing of a road. We have put a tabletop, so the Matabas like to use it. So they come up and they go down. In the past, the wheelchair had to come, and then you have to go down and then up. But now the wheelchair can go, and the cars can also pass. So we are putting road signs. We make sure that we all supervise this personally. We don't just sit in the office, but we come out and see that they're done properly. This is not just for the show or for the photo sessions, but you'll always find me on the ground doing these things, and most of the engineers here are always on the ground. in some places near schools, we put these breakers, speed breakers. Now, I put this picture here because this picture means a lot to me. It means so much to me, and I think I'll cherish it for the rest of the life. Number one, when I first joined the county, I had black hair. I was a young, nice, handsome-looking guy. But a lot of things happened, and this work has taken a toll on me. And if I let my hair grow a little bit, and if I let my beard, you'll all see what has happened to me. But that's not why I'm showing you the picture. Why I'm showing you the picture is that these are the public participations that we go to. So you know that by law we need to go to public participation before we do our budget. And I'm sure you guys from Kisumu have experienced it in Nairobi. Every time we stand up and ask the people, what do you want? Everybody says, barabara yetu, barabara yetu. None of these guys have cars. So we have also brainwashed, the political class have brainwashed our people that when they need to complain, it's the roads that they complain. On the contrary, these people should be talking about healthcare. They should be talking about water. They should be talking about education. They should be talking about footpath. They should be talking about public transport. Because that's where most of their salaries go to. Not roads. But somehow we have brainwashed them. But he doesn't have a car. So there must be some civic education to educate the people that the roads are not the priority. Even politicians, you go to YouTube, watch them. When they talk about their maendeleo, tumejenga barabara hii, tumejenga barabara, even our leaders at the top, it's not about the barabaras. You're confusing people. A good government are the ones who will invest in social infrastructure. And social infrastructure is public transport. That is social infrastructure. And health and the rest. This road here, thanks to Kura, today I'll bash Kura a little bit just for this one. I think it was Kura who got the funding for this through World Bank to do a nice, beautiful walkway on top, so they don't do. But the mistake they made, they encroach into the footpath. So over here, you have to come on the road to cross. This is near Buxton. I fought this so hard for this to be built here. I didn't succeed because the president had to come and open it, and there's a big plaque on this side saying opened by the president of Kenya. And that's why I lost the war to do this, because of that. Because nobody has informed the president that this thing is actually a failure. A failure because this is a very dangerous place. There is no place to cross from here. There's a fence, and here. You'll see it when you go to Buxton, you'll see it. This is the biggest disaster Mombasa has ever done, was this road. So, and that's why I always say, if we together can work together, all the road agencies together, before making any decision, come to us. We will share these ideas, and we shall not make these mistakes, because these mistakes are costly. You can see here. You can see when they get to the footbridge, they walk. So, what have we achieved by having that overhead footpath, and yet people are still walking the road and endangering their lives? So for converting to MT, as I said earlier, you have to believe in it, you have to have the passion in it, and you have to have the drive. And this is how our city looks like. And the journey continues. Thank you so much.